The hegemony's fatal miscalculation, the obsidian chamber of the Corthonian High Council hummed with tension as 5 distinct alien species gathered around the circular table. Each race represented thousands of years of galactic dominance, their combined fleets having conquered or absorbed dozens of younger civilizations throughout the Andromeda spiral arm. Today's discussion centered on what they considered their most pressing threat in over 3 millennia. Supreme Counselor Wrath of the Corthanian Empire leaned forward, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the blue light emanating from the chamber's walls. His voice resonated with the authority of someone who had never known defeat. The human problem continues to escalate beyond our projections. In merely 150 years since achieving interstellar travel, they have established colonies. In 17 systems, the Velthari representative, a being of pure energy contained within a shimmering containment field, pulsed with agitation. Their expansion rate exceeds even our own during our Golden Age. At this pace, they will control a significant portion of this galactic arm within 5 centuries. Counselor Zephakala, whose species had perfected biological warfare over millennia, clicked her mandibles disapprovingly. More concerning is their unpredictability. They do not follow established protocols for colonial expansion. They terraform worlds we deemed unsuitable, establish settlements in asteroid fields, and their ships follow no recognizable design philosophy. The 4th Council member, General Thoxon of the Iron Legion, slammed his massive fist onto the table. His species had evolved from pack hunters, and his patience for discussion had always been limited. We debate while they spread like a plague. The solution is obvious: complete elimination before they become a true threat. The final member, Elder Nixara of the Psychic Collective, spoke with the wisdom of her species' hive mind. Our scouts report that human military technology appears primitive by our standards. Crude kinetic weapons, basic energy shields, and ship designs that prioritize function over elegance. They should pose no significant threat to any of our individual fleets. Supreme Counselor Rothmorak nodded slowly, his decision crystallizing. Then it is decided. We will demonstrate to the galaxy what happens to species that expand too rapidly without proper respect for established order. General Thoxon, select your most experienced fleet commander for this task. 3 days later, Fleet Commander Zektar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Inevitable Conquest. He was a veteran of 43 campaigns, having personally overseen the subjugation of 6 different species. His fleet consisted of 500 vessels representing the combined might of the Corthanian hegemony, dreadnoughts whose armor had withstood the test of countless battles, cruisers equipped with weapons that could crack planets, and fighter squadrons piloted by warriors, bred specifically for combat. The target was a human colony world designated as New Horizon in their crude language. Intelligence reports indicated it was primarily a mining and agricultural settlement with minimal military presence. Long-range scans had detected perhaps a dozen vessels in orbit, cargo haulers, mining ships, and what appeared to be civilian transports. No capital ships, no orbital defense platforms, no military installations of any significance. Zektar S., tactical officer, Lieutenant Craven, approached with the final reconnaissance report. Commander, our stealth probes have completed their survey. Human presence confirmed at approximately 50,000 colonists. The orbital vessels appear to be engaged in routine mining and cargo operations. No defensive formations detected. 50,000, Zektar mused, his 4 eyes gleaming with anticipation. A significant population for such a young colony. Their destruction will send a clear message to other human settlements. He turned to address his communications officer. "Signal all vessels. We drop out of hyperspace in formation. I want this to be swift and decisive." The hegemony fleet materialized at the edge of the New Horizon system like death incarnate. 500 warships arranged in perfect attack formation, their combined firepower capable of reducing an entire world to molten slag within hours. For Zektar, it was simply another day's work. Through the main viewport, New Horizon appeared as a blue-green jewel against the void. The planet showed clear signs of human terraforming, atmospheric processes, working to optimize the air composition, vast agricultural zones carved from former wilderness, and the geometric patterns of planned settlements. In orbit, the human vessels continued their mundane activities as if unaware of the approaching doom. "Commander," reported the sensor operator, "I'm reading 13 human vessels. Cargo configuration suggests they're hauling processed minerals from the surface. No deviation from standard shipping patterns." Zektar smiled, revealing rows of predatory teeth. "They don't even know we're here. Signal the fleet. Prepare for bombardment pattern Omega-7. Target all orbital vessels first, then proceed with planetary sterilization." The first wave of plasma torpedoes streaked through space like falling stars. Each torpedo contained enough destructive energy to vaporize a small moon. And Zektar had authorized the launch of 200 simultaneously. The elegant death song of superheated plasma should have been the last thing the human colonists ever witnessed. Instead, something impossible happened. The human cargo ships didn't attempt to flee. They didn't send distress signals. They didn't explode into satisfying fireballs as expected. Instead, they began to change. "Commander," Lieutenant Craven S. voice carried a note of confusion. "The human vessels are reconfiguring themselves." Zektar watched in fascination as what he had assumed were simple cargo haulers began to unfold like mechanical flowers. Hull plates shifted and rotated, revealing hidden compartments filled with equipment that definitely wasn't mining gear. The largest vessel, which had appeared to be a bulk freighter, extended multiple arms equipped with sophisticated sensor arrays and what looked suspiciously like weapon mounts. "Impossible," Zektar whispered. "No species masters adaptive technology." To that degree, the transformation accelerated. Each human ship was revealing its true nature, and that nature was decidedly military. The cargo haulers sprouted missile pods and energy weapons. The mining ships deployed fighter squadrons that had somehow been concealed within their hulls. Even the smallest vessels were bristling with defensive systems that shouldn't have been possible to hide. But the most shocking development came when the largest human vessel completed its metamorphosis. What had masqueraded as an industrial cargo ship was now clearly revealed as a mobile fortress, its hull bristling with weapons technologies that Zektar's sensors couldn't even identify. Analysis. He barked at his science officer, Asterisk. The Velthari scientist worked frantically at his console, energy crackling around his containment field as he processed the data. "Commander, they're using some form of programmable matter technology. Their ships can literally reshape themselves. At the molecular level, it's beyond anything in our databases." The human fleet was no longer 13 ships. As each vessel completed its transformation, it split into multiple components. Fighters launched from hidden bays, support vessels detached from what had seemed like solid hulls, and weapon platforms deployed from structures that had appeared purely civilian moments before. What had been 13 ships became 30, then 60, then over 100 distinct combat units. Zektar's confidence began to crack. All ships, increase firepower to maximum. concentrate all fire on the largest human vessel. The second bombardment was 3 times more intense than the first. The combined firepower of the hegemony fleet focused on the human command ship like the fury of an angry god. Energy weapons that could melt asteroids, kinetic projectiles that could punch through planetary crust, and exotic matter torpedoes that existed at the very edge of physics, itself all directed at a single target. The human ship absorbed it. All, not deflected it, not avoided it, absorbed it. The vessel's hull seemed to drink in the energy like a sponge soaking up water. Whatever defensive technology they were using was so advanced that Zektar's instruments couldn't even measure its effectiveness. Then the humans fired back. A single beam of coherent energy lanced out from the transformed cargo ship. It wasn't plasma, wasn't a particle beam, wasn't anything that Zektar's sensors could identify. The beam struck the hegemony dreadnought, Eternal Victory, amidships, and the massive vessel simply vanished. Not exploded, not destroyed, erased. From existence, as if it had never been there at all. How? Zektar demanded, his voice rising to a near shriek. How is this possible? Lieutenant Craven's hands trembled as he worked his console. Commander, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from all the human vessels. Whatever technology they're using, it's beyond our understanding. The human fighters began their attack. Run. They moved in patterns that defied everything the hegemony understood about physics, appearing to teleport between positions rather than traveling through normal space. Each fighter was impossibly small, no larger than a single-person atmospheric craft. Yet their weapons carved through the hegemony's heaviest armor like it was paper. Zektar watched in growing horror as his fleet, the pride of the Corthanian hegemony, was systematically dismantled by ships that had been masquerading as civilian cargo haulers. The humans weren't just winning, they were demonstrating such technological superiority that the battle felt less like a military engagement and more like adults disciplining unruly children. The true nature of human defense captain, Sarah Chen, stood on the command deck of the mining vessel Honest Work, watching her tactical display as the alien fleet's formation began to crumble. The ship's transformation from cargo hauler to mobile command center had taken less than 3 minutes, exactly as designed. Around her, the bridge crew worked with the calm efficiency that came from months of preparation for this exact scenario. "Ma'am," reported Lieutenant Torres from the sensor station, "all vessels have completed configuration change. The alien fleet is showing signs of confusion and panic. Their formation is breaking apart." Chen nodded grimly. She had been expecting this moment for weeks. Long-range sensors had detected the approaching alien Armada days ago, giving her people time to prepare their surprise. As a former Earth Defense Force engineer, she understood better than most what humanity's civilian vessels were truly capable of when necessity demanded. "Communications, open a channel to all human vessels," she ordered. "Execute Protocol 77 Alpha. All ships are weapons-free." The Honest Work had been designed as what Earth's military called a wolf in sheep's clothing, a vessel that could serve legitimate civilian purposes, while concealing military capabilities that would make most alien species reconsider their aggressive intentions. Every human colony ship, cargo hauler, and mining vessel incorporated the same philosophy. Always appear harmless until the moment you needed to be anything but. Chun's background made her uniquely qualified to command New Horizons' defenses. She had spent 15 years designing adaptive military systems for Earth's colonial expansion program. The underlying philosophy was simple. Humanity couldn't afford to maintain massive military fleets at every colony world, but they could. Ensure that every civilian vessel could transform into a capable warship when threatened. Status report on the alien fleet, she called out. They're trying to regroup, reported Commander Park from the tactical station. Looks like they're finally realizing that their intelligence was somewhat ... incomplete. Chen allowed herself a small smile. The aliens had made the classic mistake of assuming that because humans were young and their technology appeared crude, they were weak. In reality, humanity's youth had forced them to become incredibly adaptive. They couldn't rely on ancient technologies or established doctrines. They had to innovate constantly just to survive in a hostile galaxy. The human colony ships had been using programmable matter technology for over 30 years. What looked like a simple cargo bay could reconfigure itself into a fighter squadron hangar within minutes. Mining equipment could transform into advanced weaponry. Even the planetary infrastructure was designed with dual purposes. The atmospheric processors doubling as planetary defense systems, the agricultural zones concealing military installations. Ma'am, the lead alien vessel is attempting to retreat, reported Lieutenant Torres. Not yet, Chen replied firmly. We need to send a clear message. Target their command ship's engines. Disable, don't destroy. I want them to be able to return home with a story to tell. The transformed mining ships of New Horizons' defense fleet moved with perfect coordination. Each vessel had been crewed by colonists who were also trained military personnel. Another aspect of humanity's survival strategy that the aliens had failed to detect. There were no pure civilians on human frontier worlds. Everyone from farmers to teachers had received combat training and could serve as military personnel when needed. The human weapons technology was based on principles that most alien species had never encountered. Instead of brute force, energy weapons, or kinetic projectiles, human military science had focused on exotic matter, manipulation, and space-time distortion effects. The beam that had erased the alien dreadnought hadn't destroyed it. It had simply displaced it to a parallel dimension where it would remain until the effect wore off in approximately 72 hours. Their fighters are breaking off, reported Commander Park. I think they're finally starting to understand what they're up against. Chen watched as the alien fleet's attack formation completely collapsed. Ships that had arrived in perfect military order were now fleeing in all directions. Their commanders, apparently more concerned with survival than maintaining formation discipline. Only the command vessel remained in position, its engines disabled by precisely targeted human weapons. Open a communication channel to the alien command ship, Chen ordered. The main display flickered, then resolved into the image of an alien. Bridge. The central figure was clearly the fleet commander, a reptilian being whose elaborate armor suggested high rank. His four eyes showed a mixture of fear and disbelief that Chen found oddly satisfying. This is Captain Sarah Chen, commanding the New Horizon Defense Force, she said calmly. Your fleet has committed an unprovoked act of aggression against a peaceful human colony. However, we understand that this attack may have been based on incomplete intelligence about human defensive capabilities. The alien commander stared at her for several seconds before finding his voice. How? Your species has barely left your homeworld. This level of technology should be impossible for such a young civilization. Chen leaned back in her command chair, choosing her words carefully. Commander, humanity spent most of its early history fighting itself. We became very good at making the most of limited resources, turning civilian technology into military assets, and surviving against superior numbers or technology. When we finally reached space, we brought those skills with us. She gestured to her tactical officer, who brought up a display showing the true nature of New Horizons' defenses. What the aliens had seen as a lightly defended mining colony was revealed to be a fortress world, where every structure served dual purposes. Every civilian vessel could transform into a warship, and every colonist was a trained soldier. You see, Commander, we learned early that the galaxy might not be as friendly as we hoped. So, we prepared. Every human world has defensive capabilities that most species never detect, because they're integrated into our civilian infrastructure. Every colonist receives military training. Every ship is designed to adapt to whatever threats it might face. The alien's tactical officer was working frantically at a console behind him. Chen could see displays showing the human fleet's true composition. Not 13 cargo ships, but over 200 combat-capable vessels, with more emerging from what the aliens had assumed were innocent mining installations and agricultural facilities. We've been monitoring your fleet's approach for days, Chen continued. We hoped diplomacy might be possible, but we prepared for this outcome. Your intelligence was correct about one thing. Humanity does expand aggressively, but you misunderstood why. We don't colonize because we're warlike. We spread out because we've learned that survival requires redundancy, adaptability, and the ability to defend what we've built. Chen stood up, her expression becoming more serious. You're free to go, Commander. Repair your engines and return to your people. Tell them what you've seen here. Tell them that humanity offers friendship to those who approach in peace, but we've spent our entire evolutionary history preparing for those who don't. The alien fleet commander's image flickered as his communications officer worked to restore full power to their systems. What you've done here, this level of deception, this technology, ... It changes everything. It changes nothing, Chen replied firmly. We're still the same species we were yesterday. The only thing that's changed is your understanding of what humans are capable of when threatened. We prefer to build rather than destroy, to explore rather than conquer. But we will defend ourselves and our colonies against any threat. As the alien command ship limped away from New Horizon, Chen watched its retreat on her tactical display. Around the system, human vessels were already beginning their transformation back to civilian configurations. The mining ships returned to their cargo operations, the fighters docked within concealed bays, and the orbital installations resumed their peaceful appearance. But the message had been sent clearly across the galaxy. Humanity was no longer the easy target that aggressive alien species might assume. The young race that had seemed primitive and vulnerable had revealed capabilities that even ancient civilizations couldn't match. More importantly, they had demonstrated that appearances in the galaxy could be very deceiving indeed. Chen turned to her communications officer. Send a message to Earth and all human colonies. Priority Alpha encryption. Message reads: First contact with hostile alien confederations successfully resolved. New Horizon remains secure. Human defensive capabilities demonstrated effective against numerically superior force. Recommend maintaining current dual-purpose colonial infrastructure protocols. As she settled back into her command chair, Chen reflected on the day's events. The aliens had expected to find a helpless colony ripe for conquest. Instead, they had encountered the reality of human adaptability, a species that could appear harmless while hiding devastating defensive capabilities, that could transform civilian infrastructure into military assets at a moment's notice, and that had learned from millennia of warfare how to survive against any odds. The galaxy had just learned its first lesson about humanity. Never judge a species by its apparent age or technological simplicity. In the vast cosmos, survival belonged not to the oldest or most advanced civilizations, but to those most capable of adaptation when circumstances demanded it, and humanity, forged by necessity, and sharpened by adversity, had just proven they were very good at adapting indeed. Asterisk.